sleep all? Everybody sleep all right last night?
Yes.
I just got off the phone with Rick. He's in the shower and coming down. So he's going to be here, I would say, within the next... Yeah.
He's in the shower?
Yeah, he's in the shower right now. We're going to pull up on Skype. And, he said he wanted to do some teaching before he got down here. Mike, make sure we have all the thing we need to ask Rick while we got his attention. Let's have this thing lined up. All right. You've heard us talk about the regional, or you've heard us talk about coaching. You've heard us talk about the peace plan last night. I don't know about you guys. This is maybe the second or third time that I've heard these guys pull that stuff together. Man, it gets more and more captivating every time they share it.
Yeah.
It's more and more captivating. And the more I hear it, the more I'm going, oh, I so totally believe this is possible. Just believe it's possible. Because we believe in the local church. We talked a little bit about commitment. You guys saw it on there. What we're looking at and what we'd like to figure out is we've put about 8 regions together, and we'll try to. I'm kind of stalling here a little bit because I know Rick's going to come in, and it's one of those things that you start talking about something the moment he shows up, all the agenda's off. Rick's here, let him do what he wants to do. But we would love to create 8 regions around the U.S. where PD guys come together and would host a conference for May of next year, right? And then we'll deliver Rick. Because the issue is we want to figure out how to platform what you guys are doing and how to build, constantly build on this and encourage others to get involved as well. So we'd love to talk about, or love to address anybody who'd be interested in helping us, captain or team lead a region. We've got a Northwest region that we're leading. We've got a South, our West Coast region here, Southern California. We've got, I don't remember how we named them all, but kind of Midwest, Mountain, Southern, Southeastern, Northern, East Coast, all that kind of stuff. Just so that we can decentralize what we're doing and start to work through all this. So that's one thing. If you're interested in doing that, by all means, love to talk to you about it, because I'd love to involve everybody here. Where you have a conference in that region, Rick shows up, and out of that then breaks into coaching opportunities for guys. Okay. The next thing is, this big deal that's coming up for us is we'll have one of the first times that we'll be doing a conference again in November of this year. Right? Rick has talked about it being a super conference. Well, he says super conference, and then he says, but David, it's okay if we only have about 300 people, 300 churches there. So I'm at a place going, okay, Rick, we probably need to talk so that we're on the same same wavelength of what we're doing. But Rick has said we're back in because we believe in what we're doing, and we need to re-engage with the churches here in the U.S. It'll be November 10th through the 13th. November 10th through the 13th. And honestly, right now, I think there's a link that I sent to you guys on that. It's the only live link right now to that conference. And if you want to bring as many people as you want to bring, we didn't even market it yet. But like the first month, if you want to get in, it was like $59 per person. And I don't know where we're at right now. We're still in we're coming on to the end of June, so I think it's like $59 or $89.
89 now.
89 now, thank you. Yeah, it's $89 for people to jump in on that. But we're going to try to bring in church leaders or churches that are running anywhere between 750 and about 3,000. It's kind of the target group that we're looking at. And let me explain why. We know we're going to get other guys that come into it, but here's the reason why we're targeting that specific group. Because when we look at PD and we look at what's happening, those churches that are in that area, those pastors, they have a reputation for their leadership, right? They have a convening power. They've already been working on some stuff. And most of those guys, and I literally, just before I walked in here, I just had an hour-long conversation with a couple that is in a church. They're running about 3,000, and they're going, we're stuck. We're stuck. We don't know what to do next. What can you help us with? And if you guys have heard Rick talk about this issue when it comes to you guys as, or us as leaders, is he always turns back to Isaiah 49. And in that passage of scripture, Isaiah's discouraged over what's happening with his ministry, and he's been reaching the Israelite people and so forth. And he goes to God and he's crying out, and God doesn't answer his prayer by saying, "Hey Isaiah, it's okay, it's going to be all right." He says, "Isaiah, the reason why you're depressed and discouraged like that is because your vision is too small. I didn't just pull you out and set you aside for just this small group of people, but I pulled you out and set you aside so that my glory would go global." And out of that, Rick always shares, he says, it's not a sin to be a small church, but it's a sin to have a small vision. Because that which is not done in faith is sin. Right? And so just in that conversation there, I talked through those kind of things with this couple. And you guys heard it last night. Peace is one of those things that can give your whole church a brand new vision of mobilizing people out. It's so different than what we were all brought up in, right? It's so different than what we were all brought up in, but for some reason feels so right that we should be pursuing, right? And so we're targeting that group because what we would love to see is 1,000 global peace centers in the next 5 years. These are churches that are committed to the paradigm, that are doing peace in their local area and outside of the U.S., and that are training, investing in other churches so that we get that multiplying effect. Right? We'd love to see 1,000 churches like that. You guys can be the first. I know many of you have already taken Mike up on the peace training on the 28th. But we're looking for guys who can be models, right, of that for the churches around them. And we'd love to see 1,000 in the next 5 years. And from year 6 through year 10, we'd like to see that grow to 10,000. Is where we'd like to grow. Because if we focus on that, we can develop a movement of healthy churches, transforming communities, and reaching and planting churches in the unengaged people groups by using a strategy that uses the best of our resources and the best of our people and the best of our churches. So that's where we're going. That's where we're investing. And honestly, that is why we believe in you, and that is why we asked you to be here. Because we said, if there's anybody that we're going to start with, we have to start with you. Because we believe you have the capability. You've already shown it, and now it's time to express it. Yeah, Mike.
David, when you talked about 750 to 3,000, how do you get that count? What is it that you're counting?
Yeah, what we're counting on that is kind of average weekly attendance is kind of the focus that we've done. I don't know, have some of you in here, I think, have received probably an email from me at some point in time that says, hey, we're doing an event down here for executive pastors or for worship leaders, or we've done for communication leaders. and it's for churches who fit this particular size. We've been doing that now, Ann and well, Matt has just joined our team, but my team's been doing that now for about 2.5 years because nobody in the country is doing anything like that. And to bring people together that are around a similar size, when they start talking, it's like we all speak the same language. And if you have if you have all the executive pastors from churches, I've done them from 750 to 1100, 11 to 16, and all the way up the scale. And when those guys get in the room, there's so many cool things that happen. Because those guys walk in, they start talking and sharing, and by the end of lunch, they're going, "You speak my language." Oh my gosh, right?
Yeah.
And then when they hear about the problems, they go, "Oh, I'm normal. I'm normal." Right? And then they start sharing what they're doing, and they go, "Oh, that's a great idea. How did you do that? Where did you learn that from?" Right? And there's such a camaraderie in the room that most of these guys, after they're done, are saying, "Okay, hey, can we do this again?" I'm going, "Yeah, but one of you need to lead it. Because if it always comes back to me, we can't scale it." Right? And that's the part. We need to get other people involved in it and scale it. So we've been doing that a while, and so that target audience is what we're going to shoot for, because peace really, and that whole vision is what we think a lot of those guys are looking for right now, right? To help us start to multiply. Now, it doesn't say we're going to stop doing anything with anybody else. We just said if we were to go all in, right? Who are we going all in on? You guys, and at a moment those guys, because we're going to ask those guys to reach the guys under them. A guy who's running 300 or 400, 500, he can look at a church of 750 and go, "Dude, you got some stuff to teach me. What are you guys doing?" Right? There's a natural platform there to do that. It's just the way we think. Is it right? No, but it's just the way we think. Because why? Because that's where we want to be. And so it's good to have a model and somebody that can help you through some of that. For senior pastors, we haven't done it yet. We haven't gathered senior pastors together yet to talk about, churches of different sizes. I hope to do that. In fact, I hope to do that with some of you. Right? To say, we'd love to host something either in your area like that. I'll send out the invitations. And we could have these kind of gatherings all over the U.S., right? And you'd be able to speak into them. What we also do with that is we bring somebody in who's just a little further along, right? So if we're in a group that's running 2,000 to 3,000, we bring somebody in that's got 3,500, 4,000, because you can look at Saddleback and go, "Oh gosh, you guys are at 27,000. I can't even imagine that." But if a guy that's running 4,000 is saying, "Hey, I was just where you were a few years ago, and here was some of the specific changes that I made," that becomes real practical, real useful information that you're going, "Dude, thanks for giving me the roadmap." Right? Thanks for helping me with that. And that's our way of trying to invest back into pastors in a way that's different, in a way that you guys already know. My hope would be you guys go away from the weekend and you go, "This time here, this short time here was better than any conference I've ever been to." Because I've had better conversations, I've had deeper conversations, I got to address my question, I got an answer, I got to speak to the people. And for me, I would love to undermine every conference out there by providing these kind of environments. Right? And the only way you can do that is really in coaching areas. And to solve the problem is to say, well, I can't be everywhere, Mike can't be everywhere. But as we multiply, then we start to create that distribution channel and system for them. Right? And that's already there. Yeah, Kelly.
A question on
Yeah.
the conference that's coming up.
Yes, please.
The original terminology was super conference.
Yeah.
So the day I got your email,
Yeah.
my children's pastor bought 6 tickets to
Good.
his team.
Yeah.
assuming that
Yeah.
there would be a children's track.
There will. Yeah, there will. There will be. We'll bring it all together, and we're looking at a couple of different, we're trying to look through a couple of different tracks. One of the things that, and it's just an idea, so it's, again, throwing the baby out there, all pimply faced and everything. Rick has been talking about, and I have no doubt he'll share it the moment he gets in the room here, but he's thinking about writing down and being able to present the things that he's learned in the last 20 years since he wrote Purpose-Driven Church. Okay? So November of 1995, which was right about 20 years ago, was when Purpose-Driven Church hit the market. Right? And yeah, changed a lot of things. Right? Well, that book only goes up through ministry.
Oh, yeah.
There is no missions. Why? Well, Rick's an SBC guy. We had our mission stuff, right? We knew that was kind of the next step on some of this stuff. And it wasn't until 2003 that we saw the change out there in South Africa and so forth. And Rick will probably share that story. But he said, we gotta do something different. In fact, that was his moment where he said, I have to repent. This little church out in South Africa is doing more for orphans than my big, rich mega church is, even back in Orange County. And so, boom, set us in motion for that. So we're looking at the stuff that we've looked at and the stuff that we've known for all these years. And we're now looking at saying, that's the essentials. Doesn't matter what size church you are, those are the essentials. You put that into play, right? That's the essential PD paradigm. Now, there's a lot that we've learned beyond that, small groups, missions, all those things that come in around that supercharge it, move people through faster, get better return, all that other stuff that has come in the last 20 years. Yes, Steve?
Are you guys going to do this on the main campus, or are you looking at trying to decentralize it? Because
Yeah.
that thing's going to fill up immediately.
I hope so.
And
I hope so.
I'm just wondering if there's a way of even incorporating like this location and some
Okay,
of the
so
other satellites.
that's a great question. So here's what this is what we're thinking. And this is coming from some conversations with many of you, even in here, that you've added to the conversation. And Rick is now he's very open to it, because we're at this place in the storyline of PD that Rick's the last conference we did was Radicalis, right? Some of you came to that and you went, really, is that the best you can do? Right? Okay. And so we've been out of it for a long time. The idea would be this: in November of this year is when we would bring folks together, and there would be the super conference type feel, but it's really geared toward toward peace and what we're trying to do in Africa, right? So this continental strategy. So it starts with Africa and then goes on to Latin America and Asia and so forth. Then what we would do is 6 months later, in February, we do the conference all over again for a larger group. So we're okay if we just get senior leaders and pastors in this one here. In fact, the way that Rick's setting it up is to say, hey, I've got some new information I want to share with you, and I'd love for you to come out and hear what we're doing. We know we're going to have other people come, so it's okay. But then in February, we may have another one at Saddleback, but then in May is when we would go regional. And that's the decentralization. And in that decentralization, rather than putting Rick on the platform at Saddleback and broadcasting it kind of leadership summit style to everybody, we said, no, we got to get back on and onto the ground where the pastors are. And so what if we set up regional conferences across all the regions in the same week? So again, just idea, but we spaced them out or figured it out so that Rick could be and fly to every venue and be there to love on, hug, high five, share a word, and so forth, and then move on. And that way he can show up in that area to say, hey, guys, in this area right here, Tom Bartlett's my guy, and he's working with Rick, and he's working with Mike, and these are the guys that are taking this. So he's bringing you, he's doing a John 3:30. He decreases a little bit and lifts that up. And that's one of the things that we heard from January, through this.
Did you record that?
I don't think we did. Yeah. The January of last year?
No, you said he wrote with me.
I
So I have to over time.
Yeah, no. I officially retract what I just said.
I think I'm an atheist anyways.
Yeah, he's the eighth. So you're right on track, Steve, of that. And I think what we're wanting to do is we're wanting to learn from some of the lessons in the past. And one of the things that I believe we as Saddleback, this is where I'll own, and as us going forward, is we were good at the presentation of stuff. We weren't really good at the relationships. Right? We were good at the presentation and the delivery of content, but we weren't necessarily strong on the relationship side. We were trying to figure it all out, and it was always doing fast. And sometimes that doesn't help in relationships. Right? So now we're probably still going to move as fast, but there is a strong intentionality to build the relationships up as well. And for us to say, look, I don't have to be the same. You got guys like Kelly Walters here who's been doing it for 20 years and been teaching around the globe, and the guy's as effective as any guy in the room. Okay? Steve Williams the same way. I could go through Dave Minton, and I could go through every one of you in the room and point out what you're doing. Okay? We don't have to take the credit. We want to give the credit away. Right? Because you guys are making it happen. You guys are telling more stories and better stories than we ever could. So that's the general direction. So we've got the November conference. We'll be pulling together. We'll have a worship track, or we'll have a thing for the worship people, for students and youth, and then probably the executive team stuff. We won't get too differentiated as it relates to executive pastors or anything like that. And we'll probably have a track in there that will just be called the Essentials, so that you can get the essential PD paradigm, that if you're just coming into it for the first time, you get it. And then all the plenaries will be Rick kind of sharing what he's learned in the last 20 years. So, okay, let's start with Paul.
Will you resend out that link?
Yes, I sure will. Yeah.
Will there be any emphasis on the purposes? And if you're bringing people that are purpose leaders, will there be an opportunity for them to focus in on their particular area?
Yeah, we're gonna try to create some smaller. We're not exactly sure.
Yeah.
So right now we're brainstorming to say, if guys just want to come in and they just want to focus on ministry.
Yeah.
How do we make that happen?
Yeah.
Okay. The other part of this too that we're really seeing is that we know Rick's going to be the draw. We know Rick's going to be probably one of the main, the main speaker and everything to this. But there's something cool and awesome about having the community there,
Yeah.
right? For you guys. So when we talk about this kind of stuff, this is where we haven't figured it out. So I'd love to figure it out. Okay. But for you guys shouldn't have to pay another registration fee, coming to a big Saddleback conference ever, right?
Amen.
Because you're doing it, right? You're helping us with it, right? So we've got to figure that out. I'm not sure how to do that yet. I know we can probably do it with some kind of code or something like that, but we've got to. We'll figure that part out. So yeah.
I just wanted to comment. I think the thing that you said probably 5 minutes ago when you said doing the regional stuff, and that Rick was going to come in and lift up the coaches in those areas, was literally the piece that probably all of us needed to hear, like from the beginning, because I think that's been a huge question mark is, who am I? Just because I hold this card doesn't change anything. But what you just said
Yeah,
shifts the whole thing, because all it has to happen is one time, and then that person
yeah.
is kind of lifted up by Rick to say, this person can teach PD.
Yeah.
Just, you need to go with him.
Well,
And I
here's,
think that's a
here's
huge
part of the
deal.
communication strategy that we're thinking of leading up to next May, right? You guys know that I think it's probably October